Hello, I'm Sean Ryan, a first year sports coaching student at Roehampton, and this is my presentation on the rugby coach Eddie Jones. So basic information about Eddie. He was born in Tasmania, Australia in 1960 to an Australian father and an American-Japanese mother. He played professionally as a hooker for the Australian clubs Randwick and South Wales and had a few appearances for the English side, the Leicester Tigers. About his career, he retired from rugby professionally to become a school teacher and gave up teaching to go back to coaching at his former club Randwick. He left briefly to coach in Japan and then returned back to Australia in 1998 after some success for the Brambles, became the head coach of the Wallaby team and led them to the 2003 World Cup, which any England fan will tell you was the World Cup we won in the last minute against the Australian side with a lovely drop goal from Johnny Wilkinson. Unfortunately, Eddie was sacked 2 years after due to some poor performances. The year after that, he became the head coach of the Queensland Reds and had a very poor season in 2007 with a record loss of 89-point margin. And in the same year was hired as the technical advisor for the Springboks during the next World Cup and was praised for helping them win. He then returned to Japan after a brief period at Saracens. Eddie for England. So Eddie became the first ever foreign English rugby coach in 2015. He had a fantastic Six Nations following that year, achieving the Grand Slam, meaning he beat every other team in the competition. He then nearly led England to another Grand Slam the year after, but unfortunately lost the final game to Ireland. Despite winning the competition overall, this win would have meant that England had won 19 consecutive games, which would have been a record for any English team. The following year, England had their worst ever Six Nations since 1983, when the competition was actually called the Five Nations. And then in 2019, recently, Eddie took his team to Japan and deservedly reached the final of the World Cup, but unfortunately did not lift the cup due to a loss to a stronger South African side in the final. The reason I chose Eddie to present is because he's clearly a resilient coach. Despite his up and down career, he had a couple of bad phases and managed to get out of them, and in the following year proved himself to be a fantastic coach. Secondly, unlike a lot of coaches now, he doesn't side with the media and normally backs his players. So one of my quotes from him is, in the interview he was asked about what his team wanted to be remembered for in the 2019 World Cup, and he said, "Our goal was to be the best team in the world, but we were the second best." Didn't mess around, and for a deflated England side, I'm sure this was quite motivational to know that their coach was still proud of them. And then he also seems like a nice, down-to-earth, genuine guy. So my favourite quote of his of all time, in the same interview, they asked about the young side he took there, what their future would be, and his quote would be, "We're going to have a few beers. And then the day after, we're going to have some more beers. And on Monday, probably have some more beers, and then we'll talk about our future." Which to me just shows that he's a normal guy and understands that the players have a lot of pressure, he has a lot of pressure, but still just tries to be a normal guy. And that is the end of my presentation on Eddie Jones.